Welcome to another Travel for Change interview. I am here with Sperry, incredible, lovely human who has joined us on 3 experiences. She's joined us for a program to Ecuador, a program that included going to Peru, and both of those were with her community called the Dragonflyers, which is an amazing group of moms. And so it was a little bit of a custom group that I do, a custom program that I do create for groups that are interested in having their own experience. And then she also joined recently for our Courage Community Kilimanjaro 2026 program. As you may or may not know, experiences combine life coaching, volunteering abroad, and adventuring. And so, welcome, Sperry.
Thank you.
So
Happy to be
happy,
here.
yay, and so happy to have you here. As I just shared, you have joined us on 3 experiences. Do you want to share a little bit more just about them and about sort of how they all unfolded?
Yeah, so you can tell I'm hooked. It's definitely my number one way to travel at this point, particularly because some of the things I want to do and love to do, my partner would rather be a little bit more conservative on the volunteer, the adventure side. So honestly, Jill, like I feel like those trips, be it with my personal like friend group and then on this trip where I had 5 very dear friends and then met a bunch of others, the combination, as I've always said to you, is like the volunteering, the adventure, the learning, there's always challenges and then there's always a little bit of fun and decadence, like again, this balance, and it just checks all my boxes. And I always come back grounded and feel like where to next. It really is a wonderful way to travel. So I'm a big fan, obviously, and can't wait for the next one.
I love I absolutely love it. Yeah, and you have been on 3 experiences over the years. I think 2023, 2025, and then the one earlier this year. How would you say your Yugo experiences have impacted your life?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I've always wanted to travel and see the world. And before I had children, I did, that's all I did was travel. I was kind of always moving around. So I think though, for me, traveling, I did an exchange before when I was, in my 20s, but for me, traveling requires I'm no judgment, but I'm not a like sit on the beach, all inclusive kind of girl. I've done it. I've done it with my family, but for me personally, I prefer to have um, a rhythm in my day, but also learn and be as much as immersed as I can, without being, you know, patronizing or, getting in people's ways. But I do find that each trip that I've taken, we met many years ago. I was just like, yeah, I got to do that. And I know we brought you into our friend group to say this is what we could do. And I think when you have, like, personally from a friend group perspective, you have a lot of strong personalities and we all love each other, but to have a neutral person, um, and that also, we call you our mom, but like when someone is organizing and taking care of those things, when there are a bunch of type A people and some Bs, it really helped make those trips smooth
Mm.
and fun. And also, we don't know, like, I want to go with someone that's been to Peru multiple times and Kili 5 times because I knew I was going to be well taken care of. I trust you completely. So some of the things were a little bit more adventurous, like some, right? Like, but also then a balance, like with Peru, same thing. I think, to be able to have the experience that we had with the Awamaki and into the Sacred Valley, and you just shine when it comes to, because you've already established those relationships, what they're like. And so when you come, you also know us. And so to bring like you're a very considerate leader, so you bring that consideration to the trip. And so the custom trips are incredible because you know us so well at this point. So I think each year you get to know us better, and it just keeps getting better. But I would say it's every trip has had a special place in my heart. I wouldn't say one is better than another. It's just, again, who can beat the Peru culture, right? And the reciprocity and Sacred Valley, like just culturally, that was to me a beautiful country. Whereas who can beat the joy in Tanzania? Because there was just unbounded joy that we were privileged to witness and be a part of. And then with Ecuador, it was sort of our first experience, but I do find the volunteering with the children and was super rewarding, but also then we did kind of our own thing after, which was great. So yeah, it's just been a really lovely place. And again, Andrew's now joined us for two of those things. And I find too, like, again, your relationships you've already built, like with Maggie in Tanzania, we benefit from that because you do know, like, I felt very well taken care of, even with the craziness that happened, because I know you knew us and had our backs. So,
I
yeah.
love that. So, why don't you share a little bit when you say the craziness that happened? Because I'm sure people are like, huh,
Yeah.
what craziness?
Well, I mean, with any type of travel like that, in a different continent or different economic, there's always things that happen. That's just the way it goes. So, I think you have a way of, like, there is a solid plan, but there's never really, like, it's always going to change because of the conditions. We had almost 17 days of rain in Tanzania. 21. No one would have expected that. But you just, then you change and ebb and flow with it. And so I think some of it can be weather related in terms of craziness. Some can be illness. Some can be, someone gets hurt. That was the first day in Ecuador. Our friend fell off a bunk bed. So there's always things that happen, but it's funny as, that mutual struggle or challenge, even to get to the volunteer site in Tanzania this year was an adventure because the rain, we had to cross rivers, we were boring rubber boots, we had pickbacks, like piggybacks across. Everyone was sort of in the community helping us get to work. That is a little bit chaotic. You wouldn't think you were just bussing to work, when you got there, but no, the bus couldn't make it. So I think part of the chaos is what actually then you think about. So when I had to kind of describe our trip, I have to be careful not to talk about all the challenging things, because in my mind, they kind of are endearing because we made it through or had to climb some crazy waterfall. Well, guess what? That was the best part of everybody's day at the end of the day. But it was super challenging. Another was, well, you weren't even here for that part, but in the safari, we got kicked out of our tents. We had to stay in a hotel. And folks, we got stuck outside of the park almost 1 or 2 hours a day. But no one mentioned that at the end of the day, because we got to see what we were meant to see. And we wouldn't have seen those things if we hadn't had a flat tire or got stuck in the mud or, and they were incredible things. So I think you just have to, you learn to kind of go with the flow. Again, I would have loved to have not, like, I was personally quite sick with altitude sickness. And then I had, well, I don't even know what I had, mostly altitude sickness, but I was eyes wide open. I knew I was going to have it and it was going to be a personal challenge for me. So, but again, as I said, I felt very well taken care of. Jill, you documented everything that was happening to me and made sure I had good care. We weren't going to stay where we were, although they probably were fine. But Andrew didn't leave my side for 24 hours. I would say we had almost a spiritual experience together because it was so raw and vulnerable to do something like that together in such a giving way. So again, I do think those challenges that people are worried about or concerned about end up being almost your fondest memories. But as you're telling the stories, it was like, we got to look at the pictures. We all had a great time, but this happened and that, but that's what makes a trip, in my opinion. So I like a little bit of, um, to me, that's adventure, that's changing, that's learning, that's becoming, going with the flow, that's figuring out what's best, how we're going to make it work. Like as a team, we all came really together during this trip, right? And every trip, frankly, I mean, those with the girls that are my, longest, dearest friends, in these travel trips together, you think you know each other, but it just opens up a whole other level of knowing the person that you've known for 20 years, which I find incredible. And yeah, they're remarkable human beings to be around and travel with. So you just bring everybody's goodness out of them.
Love. So what moment would you say stands out as a very powerful or unforgettable moment of one of your experiences?
um, what one thing that stands out,
Yeah, is
like
there a
in
moment?
experience? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Oh gosh, that's a hard question. I probably, because you're talking to me 3 weeks after I've just gotten back from Kilimanjaro, I would say um, the last night we were on the mountain with you, Andrew, Katerina, and I, and we were in a situation where we didn't have gear, we didn't have our tents. The guides literally ran up the hill to get us gear because our helicopter couldn't make it due to weather. And that was something that I needed because of the altitude sickness. And these guys all stayed with me, but we literally went into a stranger's tent and asked for help. And they said, our home is your home. And we all took care of each other. Literally, we were in a concentric circle of staying warm, and we made the most of it. And I look at that night and think there was the perfect people that were there, and that experience brought us all closer. I think the four of us, if that's possible. I mean, you are, with Andrew, but we all felt like a family, and that we were going to take care of each other, whatever happened. And we had John and their team taking wonderful care of us too. So there was nothing life threatening there, but I do feel the bonds. And for me, like, me, like connection is number one. Number one. So that my stories or my memories, or, obviously Andrew coming up with me on the summit and making it to Stella with him and Haji, that was another major moment for me, but because of the connection, not necessarily that I made it to the top, because I almost don't remember. See, the sun and the heavens were open, but it was a little, he said, look around. I was like, thank goodness he did, because I was like, oh, okay, now I got to make it down. So yeah, so all my memories are about connection, like with Daphne falling off the bed, and then what was her name that came and helped us to the hospital on that trip to Ecuador?
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Oh my
let's say her
goodness.
name's Judy. I can't remember. Kimberly, something. I can't. So crazy. I can't remember.
Rachel.
What is it? Rachel.
Rachel.
God, love her.
Yeah.
We spent the whole day there. We had an incredible time. She took us out for ice cream. We went and bought a bunch of supplies. Like, it was an incredible day of connection with her. I mean, I've had Eleanor stay at my house, and she was our facilitator in Peru with the Awamaki people and us. Like, I think of her as my daughter. Like, those are the things that stand out to me over and over again. And you facilitate those over again, just even by I think what I said to you in my note was, you put rituals in our day of things that happen each day. And I don't know, I think as a child, you do that for your children, but there's these things about rituals that make people feel comfortable, that kind of make people relax. And so it's fun to see, because I've been on these before, but to see others go through it their first time, and kind of the transformation that they make by the end, just, after rose thorns and buds for 10 days straight. It's really fun to see. And I saw that. with Lynn and Jen, like all of them. I saw it with everybody, but that's actually fun to observe because I know what's coming. You get so excited because you know all the surprises and all the things. But even as someone that's experienced it, I know what I know what's the those rituals, and just as I said, those kind of moments of fun and authenticity and things, and the coaching sessions and grabbing a cooking class and market and things like that. It's just these perfect little combinations of connection and also learning, which is great.
I love that. Um, just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
How would you say that this has, impacted your group of friends, the experiences of coming on these programs together?
Yeah. So with the friend group, you mean? Because
Yeah.
with the new friend group, who we didn't know all of us, now we're all talking about going away
Yeah.
again. So, or doing another hike. So yeah, with my friend, like with the Dragonflyer group, I mean, well, one is we've committed to going every other year. So that's saying something. And we work with you to figure out where the location is. So next one's going to be Nepal, which is going to be awesome. But I would say, like, when you have sleepovers and you share rooms, which again, I don't know why people don't do that. I love that. But I wasn't allowed sleepovers when I was little. So now, like, I'm like this perpetual child who, like, whenever I have a chance of having a sleepover, I'm in. And so I love sharing a room. And so I think when you share a room and share those experiences together, particularly when they are challenging and you see, like, the care and the love that I received, when I was not well, is like probably the biggest takeaway I've had from this trip. And I know that I have very good friends, but it's even take us to a whole other notch. Like when you're not well and they just lay everything out and take care of you. So I think there's that part of it. I said to the girls, because they just presented it to our friend group, which we were all kind of complaining our families aren't asking us anything, but they actually went another full hour. They didn't start, they went like 2 hours. There were so many questions about what we did and how we did it. And then I had three people, because I was only on part of it. They zoomed me in so I could be in part of the call. And this is us sharing the trip with our group, because many of them did not want to go to Kilimanjaro because that's not their thing. None of them wanted to camp. None of them wanted those things. And that was fine, but they still wanted and celebrated with us. And so I think because they know those trips, and some of them you haven't even met yet because of their life stage, or, some have younger kids and you will meet them eventually. But I think because they understand what those trips are like, they can really relate to when we went to Kili and Buds, Roses, and Thorns. So that was kind of neat. They know the magic, right? But also, I think, when you have those times and travels and learnings together, you can't help but not become closer, and you're building memories. So like when we're 80 and I don't know what kind of adventure, you're a little younger than us. So we'll have to be like, maybe it'll be more like Everglades in the night. You guys come to Naples or something, but it's going to be memories of amazing things and adventures that we've been on. The running joke is, and then I'll stop talking, Jill. Sorry, I kind of blabber on, but the running
Wonderful.
joke in our group is, how can we tell our husbands that these are the best vacations that we've ever had? No, it's like, and I love traveling with my family. Absolutely adore it. It's one of my favorite things to do on the planet, and with my husband, like separately. But to go with your dearest friends, with someone who like is the master of pulling a trip together that's like so incredible, it's like, we have to kind of keep it quiet, but it really is like awesome.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely love that. And yeah, I thank you so much for all of your sharing. It is a pleasure to have you on every time you've come. I'm so excited for Nepal, and I think it's going to be another magical experience. If someone is watching this and is wondering or, considering a Yugo experience, but is maybe a little apprehensive because maybe they haven't traveled abroad or had, the volunteering or been with the group or all of the
Mhm.
things. What would you say to somebody who is like pondering a Yugo experience, but maybe is a little apprehensive or, not 100% yet?
Yeah. So, I have a couple things on that. So, I mean, I think well, you're one of the most considerate people I know. So, hands down on a trip like that, like this is not like taking a guided tour or like a talk tour or back road. This is like your heart is as full, and Andrews is fully in to this type of trip. So I don't even, I can't even fathom how many questions you got on the trip and pre-trip and maybe even post-trip, but you just are so patient and also like I would say there's a calmness and a stillness around. So the people that have a cajillion questions and concerns and are quite anxious about maybe doing a trip like this that they've never thought of, this is perfect for you. Because if you actually do want to see Africa or see Peru and it's a little out there for you because it feels a little unsafe or you don't know where to go, or those, like, this would be for you, right? I think the volunteering, um, we were always worried about like what is a bunch of 50 plus women going to do in volunteering, but it actually is as much as you want it to be. Like, if you want to go hardcore and do a bunch of things, you can. If you need to rest and cook with the ladies, you can. There's always options with the volunteering that is, you always still feel part of it, like regardless of what you're doing, because of what you in the communities you've worked with before. I think if it's something more physical, like you're not in shape or you don't think you can do it again, I was probably the closest not to make it on summit night once the people made it there to summit night. And I I had the best support I possibly could have done. Like, and even when you said one of the girls who had the courage to stop and not go and not make it, her growth of learning and listening to her body, like even if the opportunity or the adventure isn't what you think it's going to turn out to be, there's some learning from it and you feel full, like, and grounded when you come back. So I think even from a physical concern, um, volunteering side, some people worried about the money, right? If it's expense of going. And I would say, I think it is a very like extremely fair. I don't like being nickel and dimed. I like one amount. You're extremely flexible when it comes to payments, and will ask questions. And again, extremely generous in what you provide and give to us. Like, I again, if there's concerns there, I would. The other big concern is probably food, because it's if people are nervous about food and how that happens. And again, I would say there's always an option of, if you had to maybe have gone to that restaurant every night or gotten a smoothie or you needed to have rice. I said I would probably have killed someone for saltines in Africa. Didn't find those. So if you want, I would say definitely bring saltines next time. But if, the food, there was always an option. If you were vegan, if you were a bodybuilder, you needed protein, like it just, you make things work because you hear people and listen and customize a program to your folks' needs. And when you have those meetings before your trip and then during and then post, I think you'd expect a change. If you're looking for meaning and a way to contribute, but you're not sure how, or like, do you need a bus or can you take a transfer? Like, all of those worries go away and you take care of it. So as again, we joke, but you're like our mom, like we forgot something or I needed to go to the clinic. you're right there with us. And so it's having that safety net as well with John, who's like a superstar in terms of he was our guide for Kilimanjaro. We had a whole other layer of amazingness with you and Andrew. So I do think it's a very safe, thoughtful way to have an adventure if that's what you're looking for. And again, happy to talk to anybody who, you know, has any questions or concerns. So
Saying,
one
oh
other
my
thing,
God.
Jill, I was thinking the introverts out there that are concerned with maybe going on a group and like the introverts, didn't they do so well
Yeah.
on our last trip? Because it is a very loving environment. And we even had men like Andrew and Jason were amazing contributions to our group of, 12 women. But it was just, it all tended, even for the folks that needed a little break, there are those too. You're not with a group 24/7, or if you need a bit of time to yourself, there is that environment that eventually you can, when you feel comfortable and need to sort of recharge, you can do that. So I do feel like the introverts in the group did really well this last trip. So
Thank
that's
you.
it. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. Honestly, thank you so much for sharing. Like I said, it's always been such a pleasure to have you. I'm so excited. I so appreciate your super thoughtful and insightful answers. And yeah, just thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. And I'm super excited for all the future adventures we have.
Me too.
Okay.
Bye.